What if we replace outdated urban services with new services driven by artificial intelligence? What if we built the line? A 170-kilometer revolution in urban living. Protecting the Earth's most stunning nature while creating unmatched livability. A home to all of us. Welcome to the line. NEOM.
Hello, friends. Chapo, we're back again. Over the course of this show, I think a main topic that has come up again and again is that of the future. I like to think of myself as something of an expert on science fiction and, the future that we're all going to be living in, because that's the fact about the future, is that it's where we're all going to spend the rest of our lives. Lately, we've been talking about what does the future hold for America, but I think it's now time that, with the help of our guest for the first part of this show, we look into the future of another country and the future of cities in general. Joining us today and collecting his two-time Chapo appearance challenge coin is our friend Brother Séamus Malekafzali. Séamus, how's it going?
It's going great, guys. Glad to be back on the program.
Well, Séamus, we had to have you on because, a couple of years ago, we covered this topic, and it's been back in the news, so I think it deserves a redux. I am, of course, talking about Saudi Arabia's city of the future, NEOM. NEOM. It's basically like if Mohammed bin Salman wanted to do SimCity 2000 in the desert. That's pretty much what NEOM is. But I was a couple years ago that we did an episode on it. So Séamus, could you just maybe just remind us, when NEOM was first announced, what was being promised here about this glittering future city in the desert?
Well, in 2017, the then newly coronated Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman went up before investors and said that they are constructing a gigantic city out in the northwest of Saudi Arabia that would be 22 times bigger than New York City. It would be 3 times as large as Lebanon, larger than Israel. Just a massive urban megacity, megalopolis, metropolis where science, innovation, creativity would flourish. Ingenious public transportation, just a city where every single important person would want to be. I think Matt even said in the last episode he compared it to a gulch, something along those lines.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly like that, except real and like a futuristic city.
It's basically a city that is larger than the entire state of Israel, 22 times the size of New York City. But it's also was sort of pitched as kind of like a Saudi Westworld that would include things like an artificial moon, robot boxing, dinosaurs. And what are some of the other outlandish things promised by the NEOM city of the future?
Yeah, in those 2,300 consulting papers that were given off to McKinsey, there was animatronic dinosaurs, correct? There was the moon. There was genetic engineering of superhumans. When has
that ever gone wrong?
I can't imagine. There were mech fights. There was a glow-in-the-dark beach. There were flying cars. There were just literally everything that I could even think of. Oh, sorry. There were drone armies and meant to give a live stream of outer space in addition to the artificial moon and making all these different attractions, just anything that you could possibly think of for that a futuristic city would have in your imagination. That's what Mohammed bin Salman wanted to make real.
And you have, you wrote an article about NEOM on your Substack, and which is why I want to get into it. But in it, you sort of make the point that of these amazing futuristic Tomorrowland features, not necessarily all of them are constrained by scientific possibility of the present moment.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to the things that that could feasibly exist, and I do mean the feasibly is doing a lot of the legwork there. But dinosaurs, animatronic dinosaurs are within the realm of possibility. I mean, I think there used to be a show in New York where like walking with dinosaurs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Weather seeding is still a thing that exists, though I'm not entirely sure what the process is for creating clouds. I know it's possible to dissipate clouds.
Yeah, you can bust those. There's cloud busting.
Yeah.
Similar to cloud busting in the technology.
You can cloud bust or cloud seed.
Like these kinds of things are possible, but the issue is that you can't sell a city on that alone. You need to have something more to the table. But the issue is that Mohammed bin Salman went way over the line in terms of trying to market this, and even essentially just created a city that is impossible to make. And from what I understand from the Wall Street Journal article that was released about a year ago, the consultants tried to like talk some sense into him about what exactly he could do. Like when they told him that he needed to figure out like a street plan for his city, he kind of scoffed at it and said, we don't need any cars in NEOM because we're going to have flying cars by 2040.
We won't need cars. I mean, yeah, flying cars is one of my favorite tropes of like what the future is going to be like. If you think back to like the movies or science fiction that, you read as a kid, it was like the flying car was just one of those things that would be like the stand-in for like letting you, the viewer, know that you're in the future now. Flying cars are one of those things. But like, it's an idea that if you think about it for more than like 5 seconds becomes a complete disaster. Like there's absolutely no reason to have flying cars because all it would do is like, the idea is like, oh, well, if you had a flying car, you wouldn't be constrained by roads, like famously as they said in Back to the Future. But like all it would do is if it became like consumer viable, would be like the same amount of cars, but just like in 10,000 feet in the air, traveling at like 800 miles an hour. So like imagine all the traffic fatalities happening, but then after each car crash, it would plummet several thousand feet to the ground.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, you can't really say that anything in these consulting papers was really thought out much. It's really just Mohammed bin Salman has somewhere in the realm of $300 to $400 billion in the public investment fund of Saudi Arabia. And if you are given an insane amount of money to draw up plans for what a Gulf monarch wants, you're going to argue with it maybe a little bit if you actually want investing. But if you just want to take the money, why argue with it?
Yeah.
Just kind of let it roll with it.
And I mean, like in all of this wish list of things does seem like what a teenager or like a child would come up with if like you gave them $400 billion and said, build the city of your dreams. And it's like, yes, I want animatronic dinosaurs roaming the streets.
Yeah. The two messages of what the PR people in NEOM are trying to kind of talk about and what Mohammed bin Salman himself wants from these documents, they're really on just two entirely different playing fields, because the people in the videos that come out of NEOM social media, they're talking real vague terms about the quote-unquote city of the future, talking about water preservation, talking about climate conservation, things that sound good to investors who want to just kind of sink money into something. But if you
will it be Wi-Fi enabled?
yeah, just something stupid like that. But what Mohammed bin Salman wants himself, you cannot market to people, really. And there's kind of this push and pull, clearly with what Mohammed bin Salman wants and what the people kind of running the program want. And what he really wants really kind of came to the surface I want to say a week or so ago, when he announced the new The Line project.
Well, hell yes.
Yeah, I love
this shit. The city,
the line,
the city named after the thing they were snorting when they thought of it.
Well, I want to get into the line, but like there are other purposes for this city as well. And like in the piece you wrote about it, like I mean, it opens with basically what begins with like a an account of like these Bedouin tribes people living in the area of Saudi Arabia that would become this gleaming city of the future. And, the fact that they're living there in the first place is a problem, but the fact also that they're living a sort of a lifestyle that is incompatible with the kind of SimCity 2000 arcology model that they want to build there. And there was a man who sort of took a stand against this city of the future. How did that turn out for him?
Well, Abdur Rahim al-Huwaiti, he was a tribesman of the Huwaita tribe, and there is a perception among very aristocratic, very upper-class people in Riyadh, places like that, that these tribes people are very backwards, very basic. That Saudi Arabia kind of blessed them by supposedly giving them infrastructure and cities, when that's really not the case. They're literate, they live in towns, but they don't live in, maybe, they don't really want to live in these gigantic cities. And so,
it's not the Flintstones.
Yeah, it's not like that. It's not really.
They're not mixing concrete for NEOM and a pelican or something like that.
Yeah, it's completely not what is being. I mean, it's not even that. It's not even that's what's being advertised to people who want to invest in NEOM. What's being advertised to people who they want to invest in NEOM is that this land, nobody lives on it. Absolutely nobody lives on it, and that it's free for the taking if you want it. But Al-Huwaiti, obviously, when these plans were drawn up and then they were announced, the land surveyors came in, Saudi authorities came in, telling people, okay, we're going to compensate you for the houses that you live in that we're going to tear down, but you guys have to leave. This is non-negotiable. Either you take the compensation and leave, or you leave and you don't take the compensation. Abdur Rahim did not take this deal. He recorded videos of himself to his YouTube channel, yelling at Saudi surveyors from his rooftop, confronting people who wanted to compensate people, confronting people who were calling his people illiterate. He spoke in poetry and the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, talking about how, there used to be honor in society, but now it seems like that's pretty much been lost. And eventually, all of these kind of very public dissent, it eventually came time for him to pay for that dissent. So in April of last year, the Saudi authorities surrounded his home, finally. They asked him to leave. They were going to condemn the house, tear it down. And he refused to leave. And then there was a multi-hour shootout. And eventually, Abdur Rahim was killed. There were videos of the house after it was shot up. And I mean, there's just bullet holes just everywhere inside the house. Like the walls are just peeling off. There's debris everywhere. Like it was clearly very violent. And in the response in the Saudi newspapers was that there was this random wanted man who was killed in Dabaq province, that he threatened the security of Saudi Arabia. But of course, that was not the case. There was this big fear about this backlash, maybe not just in the Arab world, but outside the Arab world, considering that Jamal Khashoggi had been assassinated just a year or so prior, and that had created such a national outcry. They had attempted to pay off members of the tribe that Al-Huwaiti belonged to. Some of the tribal leaders did take the payment and denounced Al-Huwaiti publicly. Others did not take the money and attended his funeral. He is the first person who has been killed in the pursuit of the NEOM project, but he's not the first person arrested. There were several people arrested before him. And he's not the first person who has been harassed, who has been attacked for resisting this kind of project. And I think there's going to be way more of these in the future, because there's something like 20,000 people who need to be relocated for this project, and it's not exactly done yet.
Well, yeah. Once the robot gladiators, just gonna push them in there, they'll deal with all these recalcitrant people. I'm sure they'll go to the new artificial moon colony that they're also building. But you bring up Khashoggi, and I mean, like, this becomes a very important part of this story, because when NEOM was announced in 2017. This was at a time when Saudi Arabia, but specifically Mohammed bin Salman, I mean, could not be hotter in the international press. I mean, there was this part of this huge PR rollout of just about a new modern Saudi Arabia. And of course, like we covered and we all remember when MBS got the full Tom Friedman treatment. So like, how did NEOM fit into this whole like new, modern, like fresh, liberal, cool Saudi Arabia that MBS and his people were pitching?
I mean, the whole thing about NEOM is that, I mean, one of the main things that was advertised about NEOM was that it was going to have its own autonomous court system, aside from the Saudi judicial system that was so kind of notoriously panelistic. In the idea that Saudi Arabia used to be this kind of old, outdated thing that nobody really wanted to touch and that investors wanted to invest in, maybe a little bit somewhat more quietly. This was something that investors could potentially be excited about investing in, want desperately to live there. Something about the quote unquote new Saudi Arabia that would be attractive to not just rich people necessarily, but something that literally everyone who is artistic, who is intelligent, who has something to give to the world wants to be in. And that's exactly what Mohammed bin Salman, the image that he wanted to bring to the world. But unfortunately, Saudi Arabia had not really changed that much, really. So when road met rubber and Mohammed bin Salman was forced to, not forced, that's not the right word, but he felt that it was in the trend of his royal family's history to continue oppressing dissenters. Eventually, that image kind of fell apart for him.
And you said like an independent port system, meaning that to attract people to live there, you could import or bring things into NEOM that would otherwise get you arrested for like witchcraft in the rest of the country.
Yeah, so alcohol, maybe not drugs necessarily, but vices that you would not be able to indulge in pretty much anywhere else in the country, at least at the time that this was announced. There are some liberalization programs going on in like the UAE and including in Saudi Arabia, but those are pretty slow moving right now. Theoretically in NEOM, this could be essentially just like any other country that you want to move to by 2030. So you wouldn't have to wait up for them.
I would like it if in NEOM, City of the Future, like drugs, regular drugs, still illegal, still get the death penalty for possessing, using, or selling them, but all future drugs that take place in the future, like Nuke from RoboCop 2, or like that slow-mo drug from Judge Dredd. Like in the NEOM City of the Future, you can do futuristic drugs there that are engineered in a lab.
Yes. Anything that is bright green or blue and that comes in some sort of a prepackaged vial situation where it instantly it's auto-injecting and makes a noise.
Yeah. If anyone out there in McKinsey is working on the slow-mo drug from Dredd, please let me know. I would like to try it. It's part of this PR rollout. But then you said then Khashoggi happened, and that, I mean, for not just NEOM, but for the entire nation of Saudi Arabia and Mohammed bin Salman, that was at least for, I guess, the surprising thing, for a short amount of time, a kind of a big wrench in the works here. It kind of fucked things up for them.
Yeah, that's kind of putting it lightly. So after Khashoggi was murdered, investors, media outlets, pretty much everyone that had kind of fallen to their feet to praise MBS, really not in the mood to continue doing that, at least for now, for the foreseeable future at that time, because the Future Investment Conference, or Davos in the Desert, that was happening when Khashoggi was still considered missing. That second iteration, so it was still very, very fresh, and MBS was kind of preparing to find new investors for NEOM at this conference, and then, I mean, his own kind of sadism kind of ruined that for him. He said there was a Financial Times piece that said that he said that no one would invest in NEOM, for years to come. It really threw a wrench in it for a while, and there was no IPO. They're planning to put Aramco
So the
up for
Saudi
an IPO.
Aramco, like, could you explain what the Saudi Aramco IPO was and how it was going to finance the NEOM?
Yeah, so Saudi Aramco is the state-owned oil company, one of the most valuable companies on the planet, obviously. And the idea was that if you put it up for public investment on the stock exchanges, that it would bring in something along the lines of $100 billion for the Saudi Public Investment Fund. And I want to say the valuation, I don't have the numbers out in front of me, but I want to say it was somewhere around in the trillions. Like, it was real gigantic. And so the idea was that you get the IPO, you get $100 billion basically guaranteed, funneled into NEOM. Maybe we don't even need the investment necessarily just for NEOM. But that got delayed because there were logistical problems. And so, Khashoggi had been murdered. There was no IPO to fund it either way. What do you do? But MBS, being MBS, sees NEOM, no matter how implausible it might be. He sees it as his meal ticket. And so he, starts building anyway at the start of 2019. And, just that month in January, there's now an airport at NEOM Bay. They start developing it, and it's kind of slow and steady, but there are enough faculties in place by the end of the year for a royal palace, for a hotel, a golf course, banks, apartments, things that very basic things that you would need for just people to essentially be there. And because people eventually started seeing that it was being built, investors slowly started to come back because the heat had been dying down from the Khashoggi hit.
Well, yeah, it was pretty incredible when that happened because it just seemed to be like the most flagrant thing that they could possibly do to like eject them from the company of considered like serious okay nations. But they weathered that. Like, they just basically they admitted to it or they had to sort of half-heartedly. And then it's just been like a year or two, and it just seems like most people have kind of forgotten about it, or they're just like, well, the money's there. So, time to invest.
Yeah, Saudi royals, they knew that, even before this, Saudi Arabia had a pretty infamous reputation, but they knew that the money would always flow as long as it was still there, and it will always still be there. So all they really had to do was play the waiting game for investors to come back. The real question was, maybe it's going to take a little bit longer than we initially anticipated, but really it didn't. It just took around a year. And now they're securing hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts to build NEOM from gigantic construction firms. Even firms that had left NEOM because of the Khashoggi killing came back because the money was so good.
Like Bechtel is, I believe, one of them.
Yeah, and also there was the name escapes me right now, but there was a company run by a British lord that is designing one of NEOM's projected 4 airports. They're doing that now.
God damn, it's worse than Denver over there. Jesus Christ, and probably even more apocalyptic than whatever's going on over there.
God, it's the money is there. The issue is, is it going to be completed? Probably not. But as long as Saudi companies are paying,
they built one airport, and then you said NEOM Bay. It's like they've done enough to have it be like, oh, it's a place, it's happening. And you also mentioned as part of, I guess, another aspect of this kind of PR offensive that they're doing. You say in your piece that NEOM Bay, or what's been built there, or they've already have a palace facility or something like that, is rumored to have been the place where Mohammed bin Salman and Netanyahu first met in person to, I guess, officially begin this kind of diplomatic rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Israel.
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, construction kind of slowed to a halt. So what Mohammed bin Salman did was he just kind of refocused it around having just tons of dignitaries come there. As if you want to meet in Saudi Arabia, you need to meet in NEOM. So King Salman.
Meet me in NEOM.
Meet me in NEOM. So King Salman would have his cabinet meetings there. He So he got the vaccine there. He does all his medical treatments there. He vacations there. NBS hosted Mike Pompeo there. He flew like straight from DC to NEOM Bay. The Saudi foreign minister sometimes holds meetings there. And yeah, they chose that when Mike Pompeo got there to facilitate that meeting between Netanyahu and MBS, because there was a private plane that was registered to people with Netanyahu that flew from Israel straight to NEOM Bay and then left several hours later. So
I like to imagine in the meeting between him and Netanyahu, they had a lot to talk about because they're like, hey, this whole airport was actually based after we bulldozed the homes of several thousand people living there already. So, it's like they got something in common. This is the nature of diplomacy. This is how you bridge divides between formerly hostile nations.
Yeah, I mean, he's learning from the best there. I can't say anything else. But yeah, they're trying to make NEOM into a place that, I mean, that was one of the original intentions. They want to kind of force it to be a place where everyone wants to go because they have to go because it's so close to everything necessarily, because I think it's reachable from a lot of places in the world within 8 hours or so. Yeah, if you want to go somewhere, if you want to have a meeting, if you want to have a corporate retreat, you come to NEOM. It's already there.
The whole thing is, they're trying to make NEOM a thing, and really this whole story is just about they're trying to make NEOM a place. They're trying to make something there where previously only just people who don't matter live. It's not a real thing. They're not robots. They're not holograms. They're not Cyberpunk 77.
It's just I'm not. I mean, the money's obviously flowing, but I'm not entirely sure just how successful that effort is necessarily going to be to make it something that literally everyone and anyone wants to go to.
Well, I mean, here's an issue that I was thinking about in pondering a city 22 times the size of New York in the northwest corner of the Arabian Peninsula. How the fuck are they going to get enough water to just make it not just be a desert? How are people going to drink water or have water to have a human population there?
Well, I mean, in the concept art that they have of NEOM on the website, there's all these lush greens, and I assume there is going to be, and they talk about water preservation as a means of irrigating. As much as I've seen in my research, there really is nothing super concrete about it, but I'm assuming if you have enough money, you can just dig things and you can just kind of hope that it works. It's not exactly hugely thought out. It's kind of something that you kind of push off until later.
Well, okay, as long as you're talking about things that are not hugely thought out. I mean, this gets us to the latest iteration of the NEOM Tomorrowland Future City idea, is that what was just announced recently is things are trickling in. It's it's something's there. It's still happening. And if the idea about this fucking megacity one with fucking robot fighting and hologram beaches and fucking flying cars wasn't enough for you, they've just announced something called The Line. Which would be, I mean, I'm without exaggeration here, this is a city that is 150 miles long, that is just one single totally straight line that cuts across the country. But the genius of it is that it's there's no real depth, so it's just basically one long commuter rail that unites this gigantic but very narrow just linear city.
Yeah. God, okay, I'm gonna posit a question to you, Will. Have you heard of the movie Pieces?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, the tagline of the movie Pieces is, quote, "It's exactly what you think it is," unquote. I try to explain The Line to multiple people in my life because they're people are asking me about it. There is no higher meaning, really. Honestly, it is a city in a straight line. That is the gimmick. The whole thing, it appears to be, is that it's 95% of nature is going to be preserved in the space that it is, fully pedestrianized. No streets,
no one needs a car.
No cars. Yeah,
no one
exactly.
needs a car.
Well, is it because things are just it's just the same stuff, the same amenities, one after the other, and then you're within walking distance of one segment of them, or how's that work?
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to be the most walkable city ever conceived of, in that everything is going to be within all of your daily needs are within 5 minutes walking of your
the most walkable city in the world. Isn't it like 150 degrees outside in the summer? What the fuck?
Well, I mean, you got the weather sitting above it, so it's going to be a cool 70.
Oh, okay, right, all right.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yes, the dome over the line will take care of the weather at a future date.
Yeah, but of course, maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe not all of my daily needs can be fulfilled within 5 minutes. I want to get around. Okay, well, MBS has a solution for you. The city will be traversable within 20 minutes. Now you might say, how do you traverse a city within 20 minutes that is 105 miles long? It would have to be a train that is 315 miles per hour, and there are no trains currently in service that are that speed. But
maybe he means the other way, like not length, like width.
Girth.
20 minutes.
Girth.
Like we didn't say the whole length, just the girth.
Oh my god. I'm trying to explain it in a way that will make sense. Just look up, if you're a listener at home, just look up the line, and you'll see what it looks like. It's like if someone took a line tool in Photoshop and dragged it over a fucking satellite image of the Arabian Peninsula and just dragged it across it. That's it. Just the line tool. That's what it looks like. And additionally, one of the things that confounds me about it is that there's a space in the area that's talking about that's pretty flat land, but inexplicably it goes through a mountain. I don't know what the plan is for what happens when it goes through the mountain, because it's supposed to be fully pedestrianized. Are they going to dig through it? Are they going to blow it up entirely? I don't understand why you couldn't just make it shorter. I'm not sure I'm truly and honestly confounded by what the thought process is behind this entire thing.
Séamus, the thought process is, and I brought it up before, this is the real life version of playing SimCity 2000. This is exactly what you do in that game. You just you use the bulldozer tool to just take a cut out of a fucking mountain so you can build a highway through it.
Yeah, you have a save file where you want to just see if you can try out doing a city in a straight line. But of course, MBS, because he has hundreds of billions of dollars at his disposal, wants to make this thing real.
Because he has all that money, he used the cheat code, so he never gets the angry city councilman being you cannot cut funding on dinosaurs. You will regret this.
Honestly, the fact that he's doing animatronics, he's not even trying to do real genetically cloned dino Jurassic Park style
sucks.
Real dinos. The fact he's not even giving it a go, he's immediately giving up and going to
They're not dinosaurs.
Pathetic.
No,
Lame.
I completely agree.
They're not even dinosaurs. It's ridiculous. But I guess overall, finally wrap things up here. How do you see this? Because I find it hard to believe anyone at a certain level really believes or buys into any of this shit. If you're McKinsey, you're just taking the money and you're yes, very very good, sir. Yes, there will be an artificial moon. Yes, the Line City, brilliant. This is a vision of the future. And then everyone else, the money's pouring in, the contracts are there. But if you are MBS, if you are the Saudi government, what's really going on here? What are they pitching to the world? Is this idea of do they want Saudi Arabia to be something that is a global destination and power after their fucking oil runs out? Or is there something else? Are they just trying to pitch themselves as a modern futuristic place to live while also being a fucking totally undemocratic authoritarian monarchy?
Yeah, if there's one thing that revealed the real vulnerabilities in Gulf monarchies, it was the pandemic. Because of trade slowing down, of tourism slowing down to a near halt, Gulf economies really took a really bad hit. Something just in Dubai, which is a model city for what NEOM wants to really kind of build itself on. Something when the coronavirus first hit, around 80% of businesses in Dubai were expected to close within 3 months. They narrowly avoided economic catastrophe in the UAE by halving the size of the entire government. It's real shaky ground. And when fossil fuels eventually start to run out and climate change becomes kind of impossible to maneuver around, you need other ways of producing money than just oil. Tourism is vulnerable, but tourism is kind of the number two. It's really the only thing you can do if you are a Gulf monarchy. So Saudi Arabia is really trying to do that in some form or another with NEOM. What strikes me about kind of the production of it. I don't think that the people really running the construction project really believe it to be it's going to be this gigantic super city, but MBS absolutely believes it will be. And because MBS holds a near absolute power in Saudi Arabia, he can continue doing it for as long as he wants. And for the people, for the investors who are investing into it, it's really just kind of a money suck. And the hope is that at some point, eventually enough will be paid out back by the Saudis that they'll get their money back. But they don't really care if NEOM gets constructed. It's just, you get money for it.
It's hard to pick like tourism like as a replacement for like the global petroleum export. I mean, like it could work, like Dubai, for instance. I mean, like they have some coastline there, and they're building more of it by doing those ridiculous fucking islands that like look like shit and are also golf courses or whatever. But like, isn't the problem here that it's just like, as a tourist destination, like the climate, the sort of landscape, I mean, it's not like that nice of a place to visit. I mean, and I know they can provide all kinds of like insane, ridiculous luxury and splendor, of course, basically all underwritten with pseudo slave labor. But like, this country of Saudi itself, you can't do anything fun there if you're trying to like attract a global elite clientele, right?
Yeah, it's not a perfect system. I mean, you have to remember that the initial genesis of the NEOM idea was that MBS was on Google Earth and he saw part of the country that kind of looked empty, and he decided that he was going to build an entire city there.
Okay, all right.
Like there's no real thinking behind it except for that, and the PR people with NEOM have tried to kind of retroactively find reasonings for it. I mean, Dubai has somehow miraculously made itself into a major tourist destination just by sheer will of monetary force.
Yeah.
And the hope is that NEOM will become like a Dubai too. But the issue is that, Dubai is Dubai. And when coronavirus happened, Dubai took a massive hit. NEOM really isn't going to fill in those gaps, but it's kind of the only option that Saudi Arabia really has, outside of maybe doing like solar energy, but that really isn't enough.
I mean, I guess like just finally here, like, I mean, we talked about the Khashoggi hit and the fact that like, I mean, I guess I'm not surprised, but it is pretty jaw dropping, like how easily they've been able to just wait that out, and like everyone has just kind of forgotten about it. And now with this new sort of like official diplomatic ties with Israel, I mean, like it's just like, how easily is it going to be for Saudi Arabia to like convince enough of the international press or like corporate leaders or people in government elsewhere that like they're just a normal country and like not one of the most evil places on earth?
I think it's sooner than a lot of people might think. Back right after the Khashoggi killing, there's a huge amount of negative press, obviously. But when this aligned city was announced, if you went to Reuters, the AP, Bloomberg, outlets that are very popular, they were talking about the city like it's a genius idea that this a fully pedestrianized city with nature preservations. I mean, that's an amazing idea. The cycle resets itself very quickly, and I think the UAE and Bahrain got a ton of great press off of the normalization with Israel. I think if normalization with Israel happens for Saudi Arabia, which I think is going to happen very soon, I think that might be enough to fully reset that cycle, at least with some people, at least with enough people that they can say maybe not publicly. Because the key thing with the NEOM investments was that all of these contracts were announced as they have to, but when they were asked about it, they refused to answer any questions. They know that it's kind of toxic to talk about right now. But if you want that cycle to be reset, it'll probably happen pretty quickly, I think.
Séamus, thanks so much for joining us. The piece is NEOM, The Line to Oblivion. That is up on your Substack right now. If people would like to subscribe or find more of your writing, where should they go?
If they want to read this piece and any more pieces in the future, they can go to malekafzali.substack.com, Ekafzali.
We'll put the link in the bio.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Put the link in the
I'm sorry. Well, the link will be in the description. You don't have to remember it. It'll be there. $5 a month. It's gonna be great.
Brother Séamus, thank you so much for joining us again.
It was my pleasure. Thanks.
This city is here for you. All you have to cover the cost, cover the cost, cover the cost, cover the cost, cover the cost.
Okay, we are back. Thanks again to Séamus Malekafzali. And now in the second half of the show, we are joined by Brother Virgil Texas, along with me and Matt. So here we go. It is Inauguration Week, everybody. Inauguration Week. And I got to say, always a good sign for the health of your country's democracy when the peaceful transfer of power is accompanied with the phrase, the capital will remain in a state of the green zone all week or until future notice. When a good chunk of D.C. is literally the green zone now for the inauguration, things are going pretty good. We excited though? We're looking forward to it. It should be a fun time.
Most of all, I am looking forward to the country healing and coming together, which is going to happen.
I mean, unity and coming together is the theme of the inauguration. And
then how could people not do it after they spent all this money and put it on TV for a week? How could people not come together after seeing that?
I gotta say, like, I think it's good because there were people in Joe Biden's ear who were telling him, I think the theme of the inauguration should be fuck Donald Trump and everyone who voted for him.
No.
But he decided to go in a different direction, and I think that speaks to his sort of maturity as a leader.
Yeah, I mean, like all the people who think that he is drinking the blood of infants out of a fucking pony keg every night are going to see Garth Brooks serenading him wearing a dumb shirt where the colors are split halfway, and go, God, my God, I had this man all wrong.
All I want to know is what that first dance is going to be too. My money's on Turkey in the Straw.
Yeah, there's gonna be some good performances. You mentioned Garth Brooks. I mean, he's a big name, but that is the unity choice there. He's like a little bit country, a little bit rock and roll. He's something for everyone, and he's sort of he says that's the olive branch to the MAGA, the red part of America, to be like, hey, look, it's Garth. It's Garth. He thinks Biden's president. Can't argue with that. And then, of course, 2 seconds later, the Garth Brooks' name will get added to the pedophile.xce spreadsheet.
It's already there. He has already been, and not only is he on the list, he has also been arrested and executed and replaced with a hologram.
Are there actual live performances? Because I know they're doing these Zoom concerts.
Oh, okay.
That's what they've been doing for the past week. These Zoom concerts, which is, featuring, pro-Biden comedians and musicians. Which is available for you if you're like your brain's healthy and you want something to watch. But I haven't seen any of it.
I would imagine on Inauguration Day there probably will be someone on a stage performing, like on on the National Mall or something. But I don't know what kind of an audience will be in attendance, though.
Yeah, because these are the Democrats. They're not going to just have everybody out there maskless. It's all about following the rules. And also, there will be like 20,000 National Guardsmen there.
I mean, that's going to be the audience. And I have been enjoying stories. And again, like I take every one of these stories with a very large chunk of salt. But the whole thing about how like they're vetting the National Guardsmen for like seditious behavior or activity because they just think that like it'll be like that scene in The Joker, in The Dark Knight at Gordon's funeral where like the honor guard just turns their guns on the mayor or Harvey Dent or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, come on, not outside the realm of possibilities. People are fucking cracked.
I mean, did they get live ammo to begin with, or is it all
apparently they're not? They're not giving them. They're not giving them the live ammo. Which I don't know if you want to tell the people that so that they can just bum rush the stage knowing the guns are empty.
Every fifth gun has live ammo in it, so it's sort of like you're rolling your dice, but you're also sort of diffusing the chance of the guns being turned on the state.
Yeah.
We've said for a while now, the big promise of the Biden administration, and I think like a big part of his appeal as a presidential candidate was the idea of just like, back to normal, But like back to normal
Yep.
implies like not just back to Obama, but I think truly the real promise is back to the 90s. Like back to the early aughts, the 90s. Like isn't Chris, you brought up that Will.i.am is going to be at the inauguration. I mean that's going
I
back
want
to
talk
normal.
about Will.i.am for a second, because nothing to me says like there is no future than the presence of Will.i.am back in the Biden inauguration. It's like we are forcing it to be 2009 again. No culture has progressed. We are not acknowledging anything that has happened since then. It's Will.i.am forever. I'm having a real good time with you. Your brain just repeating that over and over again until
Tonight's
the heat
gonna
death of the
be
universe.
a
Yeah.
good time. Tonight's gonna be a good time.
Will.i.am,
That song literally is fucking about self hypnosis. Like I'm having a good. All their songs like I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. This is the best time I've ever had.
This is a good idea. This is going to be great. This is all going to work out well for me.
2000. It's 2009. Biden is healing the nation. Everyone's happy. There's nothing. There's no problem. There's no cause for alarm.
So yeah, you've got Will.i.am of the Black Eyed Peas, and none of the rest of the Black Eyed Peas. I mean, where are they?
Not even Apple D App. I hear that he's into QAnon, and that's why he's not allowed. He might actually have a suicide vest on and try to kill Trump or Biden.
So Will.i.am is there representing like time stopped when like Obama was inaugurated. We're going back to 2009. Even better than Will.i.am though was the one that was announced yesterday, which is fully what I'm hoping for, to just go back to the 90s purely. End of history.
The last decade, baby.
The last decade. And nothing is better evidence of that than the group, the New Radicals, are reuniting and performing for the first time in 22 years, performing their anthem, "You Only Get What You Give," at the Biden at Biden inauguration. You all remember that song, right?
Oh hell yeah!
The video in the mall.
Yeah, where he's in the mall.
It's like bucket hat.
Yeah, it's a bucket hat guy, and he's in a mall, and like the video is like kids in a mall just like wilding out, having fun, and like the authority figures are like, you can't do that, and then like they're just having too much fun to stop.
It was kind of a we didn't start the fire for a new generation.
Yes, it's exactly what it is. And the famous
But it also threatened physical violence against Courtney Love and Marilyn Manson.
Well, that's what made it for a new generation.
No, yeah,
They looked at we didn't start the fire, and they said no, not aggressive enough.
Yeah,
we need genuine threats in this.
On Wednesday, like you're on Wednesday, when Wednesday rolls around, you're on notice. Courtney Love, Marilyn Manson, Billy Corgan, you are now enemies of the state, and you will be compromised to a permanent end. The fucking U.S. military is going to kick your ass in.
I mean, Courtney Love honestly should probably go to prison because of how close she is to people from the Epstein Island. But she honestly might end up on both lists, like the Democrats and the Q people's list of criminals.
No, but they're sort of I don't know. There's a grimmer thread to the inclusion of the New Radicals at Biden's inauguration that I found out about the other day, because people were sort of, I don't know, sort of just having some fun with it or poking fun at the idea because people, it's kind of a corny song or it is such a throwback. And I don't know how vetted this is, but somebody angrily denounced people making fun of the New Radicals at the Biden inauguration because they said the reason that they're performing and that they're reuniting is because the song "You Only Get What You Give" was apparently what was referred to as Beau Biden's fight song during his battle with cancer. And that was his inspirational, like on repeat anthem for like, I don't know, getting chemotherapy or like struggling with cancer. So like that sort of inspirational anthem was Beau Biden's like personal song, and it has like a kind of an emotional like meaning and purchase on Joe Biden himself.
That's really burying the lead there after our japes that seemed harmless at the time were actually making light of this tragic event.
Wow, I thank you for reminding me, Joe Biden, that your fucking kid died. It's been 5 minutes. So I'm sorry we sent you $1,400 checks as some sort of grim prank. My son died.
Are the New Radicals playing like live, or is it going to be another Zoom call?
I don't know.
I think that's going to be live because that's on the day of, and I think there is going to be like people on stage. I don't know who's going to be in the audience, but I do think there's
is
going
it
to
just
be
like
a
the
stage.
family? It's just like the family members of like Abigail Spanberger.
Yeah,
Just like Abigail Spanberger's uncle rocking out to the New Radicals.
Like during the convention when they would have people on the stage, but there was not really an audience. I'm assuming it's going to be like that. And also, Lady Gaga is going to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Then you're going to have Tom Hanks. They're going to have a special. That'll probably be the Zoom thing where you got Springsteen, Foo Fighters, John Legend, Justin Timberlake, Demi Lovato, Bon Jovi.
When do the cuffs go on? At what point in the schedule is that?
They're just going to lower a giant cage from the ceiling of the WW.
It's like that. It's like the board game Mousetrap, but Bon Jovi is caught underneath.
The reason why I ask is I think the New Radicals video, it should be a Zoom call. All the members of the New Radicals should be in different locations. And instead of it being a mall, which is, an outmoded concept, they should be shopping on Amazon. And it's a statement about how we all need to pitch in and stay at home and just do all our commerce online virtually now in order to beat this thing.
I mean, honestly, I think now is the perfect time to bring back that song after fucking 10 months of fucking pandemic quarantine. Just the chorus line, "Don't give up, you've got a reason to live." I mean, people need to hear that right now. They really do.
How about this? You get what you give your country.
This is the update
like
of
Kennedy,
the John F. Kennedy thing. Yeah.
It's like Kennedy.
That's not what your country gets, what it gives. I will take it as true, the thing about it being Beau Biden's fight song, and that is very
apparently
sad.
it is. That's in Joe's one of his quote unquote autobiographies.
But you can't make me not think it would be funny to watch Joe Biden shed a single solemn tear while watching a guy in a bucket hat sing list cultural signifiers of the 90s.
Perhaps, dare I say, while wearing a bucket hat himself.
He should put the bucket hat on Joe Biden.
absolutely.
At the end of the performance, put the hat on his head like a crowning. They could do it like when Napoleon got crowned emperor at Notre Dame. I just want to say that they got this list of performers for the inaugural. You got Springsteen, fucking Timberlake, Bon Jovi, and it reminds me of Trump's inaugural, where I believe it was three doors down, and a guy who could fit 8 billiard balls in his mouth. That was it.
And
didn't they have like a dueling piano?
Piano.
The piano act where it was 5 guys playing a single grand piano, but like playing it like Harpo Marx did, where they're playing like they're sort of plucking the inside strings and playing it like a drum and shit like that.
Yeah,
Remember
Get
that?
your foot out and do
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there was like a family band where little kids playing violins. As I said at the time,
The Shapiro family music performance.
Yeah,
It was all the Mr. Show acts. Champion, the drinker.
No, it's Choo Choo, the herky jerky dancer. I remember we were watching that shit at a restaurant in DC, and I felt that was my first real sense that my soul leaving my body during the Trump administration. It's just like watching this 12-year-old in a tuxedo playing the violin, and I just thought, this is like Kyrgyzstani state television.
Just imagine that he finishes his violin song and then puts it down and then solemnly begins singing "Tomorrow Belongs to Me."
No, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, obviously thinking back to 4 years ago when we were in D.C. for Trump's inauguration, and then obviously like we're absolutely no chance that we even could go to this one, even if we wanted to.
Yeah,
because of how good things went in the intervening 4 years.
Yeah, I swear to God, though, if we did
it's too boring now. Democracy has solved everything. Don't even want to go to see the spectacle.
If we went on Wednesday, though, we would have like probably 100 times greater chance of dying this time around than the last one.
Yep, for a
really
variety of reasons. Yes,
and I just gotta, just like to circle back to the idea of cancer fight songs, which I guess is a thing. And I was just thinking to myself,
I've never heard that.
What was my dad's cancer fight song? And like it was like sea shanties. He was like he was ahead of the TikTok curve. He would listen to sea shanties and like Irish folk songs on the porch. So if I ever become president, it's going to be one of those, and no one better make fun of it.
No, you can't make fun of it. You can't make fun of it because his son died, okay? That's what's just so grotesque to me about his whole performance of like fake empathy. It's all rooted in just this weepy, fake emotional candor. literally weaponizing his own trauma. He's gross. He's high key gross, Joe Biden. Or more accurately, the people who control his body like a fucking ventriloquist.
Yeah, and then you brought up the $1,400 checks thing. I know we talked about it last week, but like this has become kind of like the early controversy or sort of a blow up of the pre-Biden administration, because like basically half of people are just saying like, you stupid moron, it was always $1,400. Why don't you read the damn bill? Which is just like, okay, like, I mean, you're a real sicko if you weren't surprised by that shit. But I will even grant that like basically like they might be correct that it was always about like fulfilling 2,000 eventually, like if you read the bill or whatever. But like that's not like, that makes them look worse, not better. That's like they're saying, oh, like no, like we were always planning to do this.
We were planning to. You should see your faces. This is a classic bit. You've been punked.
I think Carl Bayer laid it out pretty well when he wrote that. If you are a someone who follows politics at a granular level, which is to say maniac whose brain is rotten, then you would come to the conclusion that, well, yes, of course, when they said 2,000, they meant the 2,000 cumulatively after the Republicans passed the $600. If you are a normal person, maybe you had seen a clip of Joe Biden saying after that $600 had passed, proclaiming we're going to get you $2,000. Or Kamala Harris saying we're going to get you $2,000, and you would think, oh, okay, I'm getting another $2,000 on top of the $600. I think that's the source of the controversy.
Or you might have seen any of the fucking TV ads in the Georgia Senate race where they were literally like showing images of a check for $2,000, being like, "This will be yours if only you vote."
And this was after they passed the $600, after they started sending out the $600 checks.
And there was a subtle but very calculated shift in rhetoric after Ossoff and Warnock won those races. Where like before that, it was just like $2,000 checks. It's real. It's going to happen. And then right after they won, like Biden and other people around him, there was like this rhetorical shift where they just started saying, we are finishing the work of getting you $2,000. And that's what the $1,400 represents. And it's just like, I just like the idea that they're just like, oh, like, you fucking moron, you absolute sucker, you thought $2,000. What you thought like it was always $1,400. You idiot! What did you do? Just believe that you just heard $2,000 and you were like thought that would be like one check? You fucking moron! And it's just like they're probably right about that, but like, don't they understand how bad that looks to like the vast majority of people who aren't brain poisoned political sickos? Like that looks so fucking bad.
The weird thing about this whole debate to me has been how much it's gotten caught up in these number differences, and how there's no like universal messaging of being like, look, we're in the Treasury, we've got our green visors on, we're doing the numbers, we're seeing how much we can like afford or even be able to do, or what the economy will bear. Like there's no reasoning among this, and so what you're left to conclude as a person is that they're just all trying to decide what they think you deserve.
Yeah.
That there's no like actual back end of the math.
And
to
has-
this
Basically, like, how much will it take to shut you the fuck up?
And has anyone made an argument for why $2,600 would be like far too much, or would have some sort of deleterious effect on the economy?
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, everybody will say that if they've decided that it's time to turn the tap off. I mean, it's arbitrary. But like Ron Johnson said no to 2,000, and then like Joe Manchin said at first, he said no to 2,000. So they have these barriers. I mean, one of the reasons that the stimulus in 2009 was such shit was that fucking Olympia Snow insisted that it had to be under $1 trillion because that was too big of a number. It's all just made up. They just pull it out of their asses. They like round.
well, 2,000's rounder than 1,400.
Yeah, it's way rounder than that.
That's 3 goose eggs, not 1.
Yeah, but it needs to be round low. It can't be round up. It has to be. You have to always be rounding down because that signals fiscal responsibility, even though you're just pulling numbers out of your ass.
If you give people $2,000, what's next? $3,000?
Apparently.
No, you can't. That'll be the end of the world.
The Democratic Party operates on the if you give a mouse a cookie principle of governing a polis.
They love talking about that book. Actually, honestly, it may be funny if they ended up stumbling ass backwards into some sort of UBI out of this, just as a way to keep the fucking economy on life support.
And then I guess as part of this other huge spending package just being promoted, proposed at least, another part of it is a $15 minimum wage hike, which is good, but I'll believe it when I see it. And then even in the bill as it's currently written, it's $15 minimum wage by 2027. That's the time frame they're going on. And I'm sure it's gonna. I'm sure. I swear. I bet that's gonna get down to $12 an hour or something. But even that being proposed, okay, better than nothing. But even at that being proposed, we're treated to another round of possibly some of the most brain dead discourse or arguments against raising the minimum wage from the Econ 101 segment. They're it's just simple math. If you raise McDonald's employees' salaries to $15 an hour, then a Big Mac will cost $20, and who wins then? Nobody. Which would that would imply that if you cut the salaries of McDonald's employees, a Big Mac would be free. Which is, I think, honestly something we should consider because that would be a universal food program.
Well, it has to cost something because the bosses have to make money. But if their labor was free, then they could really pass the savings on to you.
Yeah, definitely.
It'll be a UBI in the form of a Big Mac per month subsidy for every American.
I see the argument advanced by two kinds of people: college professors and TikTok investors.
yeah. A couple on TikTok. You must have saw that video this week, but the couple on TikTok who's financed their whole life by using Robinhood, and he's it's real simple. Here's my investment strategy. I buy a stock. I watch it go up. I wait till it just ticks down a little bit, then I sell. So every stock I buy, just when it goes up, that's when you sell it. And it's just brilliant. We're definitely not living in a bubble or anything like that. Just as long as the stock market keeps going up, get on this train now.
Yeah, traditionally that has usually been an indicator that the economy is on very stable footing when everybody is speculatively investing and highly leveraged.
You're right. Econ guys and TikTok investors, and also it's the perfect person who's opposed to a minimum wage hike with well-sourced, well-reasoned arguments for why it's a bad thing to do and actually hurts the people you're trying to help are that entire contingent of guys out there who make $70,000 a year and think Elon Musk is their colleague.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Elon Musk reply guys.
Yeah, exactly. You think once you crack six figures, you are a business genius, and that you understand how the economy works, and you understand you can't just raise people's salaries, or all the people who are they work a job for $20 an hour that they consider more skilled than a McDonald's employee, and they're why the fuck should they be making as much as I am? Instead of getting mad at the assholes who are stiffing them every fucking month.
I just don't see why that you would take that to the logical conclusion and just be we shouldn't have a minimum wage or basically any labor law.
They do say that. That is what they say. They're just doing a rearguard action, but when they feel that they could move forward, they try to dismantle this stuff.
So wait, is this all just an argument that the wage should be even lower so that the Big Macs can be cheaper?
Well,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
The more sophisticated version of it is that by putting a minimum wage, you limit the amount of people who could get jobs, so therefore you're limiting employment. That's what they argue. Although there's no real evidence at all that that's what happens. Or it's just one of those things that there's two lines on a graph and you point to it and say this is science because economics is so real. It's so real they had to make up their own Nobel Prize.
And because
everybody else understood instinctively that they were full of shit, and so they had to they made their own one out of fucking pie tins and said, no, we have a Nobel Prize too. And eventually people are just fine, shut the fuck up, you have a Nobel Prize.
And also McDonald's exists in countries like Denmark that have something like the equivalent of a $15 minimum wage, and the
they have
quarter
more
pounder there is
$25 minimum wage.
Yeah, it's $25 minimum wage in Denmark for McDonald's employees, and the quarter pounder in Copenhagen is not $50.
It's $1 more though.
It's 50. Yeah, who cares? Yeah, exactly.
It's $1.
How many Big Macs are these people eating? Why is that the index? I want to see the breakdown of your monthly budget here, because if you're spending clearly too much on Big Macs, if this is something that's threatening your pocketbook.
Yeah, it's look, this stuff adds up. I mean, if I'm getting a Big Mac every 20 minutes, that extra 15 cents is going to drive you to the poorhouse by the end of the month.
I get it. I get it. I get the shit coming from the small business tyrants, but the one that was baffling me was that lady, the college professor, who said, if I've got to pay my student TAs $15 an hour, I'm just going to hire fewer of them. And it's like you don't pay them. That's not coming out of your money. You don't hire them. That's not your money. What do you give a shit what they make?
Because if people who you think are lower than you socially and do a job that you don't respect make near as much as you, then you have been disrespected. Yeah. That's how people. That's what people think, because that's our delightful crabs in a bucket society, where you're only able to enjoy a sense of worth if you know that it's relative to somebody lower than you, and a burger flipper should be lower than you. That means they need to make less money.
I also think, especially the lady in academia, or people who work office jobs, I think a lot of it too is their own subconscious or conscious guilt about the fact that the job that they're paid to do, they don't actually work during a day. There's not even that much work to do. They just sit at a desk and pretend to look busy most of the time, and they know that what they do isn't very skilled. They're actually stealing time every fucking day. And that it's not socially beneficial either. Especially in academia, and if you work in a fucking office,
which is all the more reason that they need to maintain the salary distinction as a validation of their entire fucking lives.
Well, the aggravating one, and something all of these people talk about, is the idea that minimum wage jobs are for teenagers. They're for students. And they often brag about how, for one summer in college, they worked at a Taco Bell or something like that. And that's their only, point of reference.
But it definitely shows how absolutely ideologically tainted our understanding of, jobs is. People really do seem to think, in an ambient sense in this country, that, your wages are a reward for your virtue or something. And your productivity, and your value as a human being, and not what your boss can get away giving you in exchange for way more value than you fucking produce. The $15 burger flipper is still producing way more than $15 an hour worth of value for his employer. But that's not something that people even conceive of, because if you thought about that, you'd have to think about the fact that you're getting fucking ripped off too. And who wants to think about that when you can instead fixate on this imagined hierarchy of virtue that is that's delineated in dollars, and you can point to yourself and say, I'm here, at least I'm not down there.
I think another thing that's going on here, specifically in the backlash to this kind of thing among white collar workers, is the minimum wage jobs that they're talking about and shitting on, I would say that of the hours that you're doing them, I would say are unambiguously a harder job to do than being in an office and sitting at a desk. If your job is sitting at a desk looking at a computer all day long, half of that time you're looking at fantasy football, you're fucking you're dicking around, you're pretending.
Well, that's where the physical labor of white collar work comes in, because you do have to get pretty fast with the clicker to get off the fantasy football
minimize
screen
window.
Back to the Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, minimize window. But what they're mad at is that the benefit of the minimum wage job, where if you're in a job situation where if you can lean, you can clean. That's a real job. You're busy every hour you're fucking doing it, and someone's looking at you and making sure that you're on your feet, doing a task over and over again that is part of the job. The benefit, at least in their mind, is that when the job is over, it's over. You leave it. It's done. You don't have to think about it. Whereas with most white collar jobs, especially now more so than ever, with everyone working from home and working remotely, the job never ends. There's nothing other than work. And you're never really off the clock, and you're never really out from under the thumb of productivity, a supervisor, the next fucking email, the next 50 fucking emails. You live in that constant state. Even though you're not the work you're doing, you're not spending every minute that you're being paid for working, theoretically for the job, what the job requires. And I think that they think that that's what they're being paid for, the fact that they can psychologically never ever leave the office or their place of work. Okay, moving on to another thing. Did you guys see? This is the perfect ending to the Trump administration. Did you see that Mike Lindell, the pillow crackhead, was visited the White House to advise Donald Trump about declaring martial law last week?
I mean, who amongst us? You gotta talk to some people sometimes. Apparently, the deal with that is that they just let him come in there and just say, let him talk because the president likes him, and then they just sort of lock him out.
And there was another.
Okay, he got it off his chest.
There's another news article this week about how it was like further accounts of like, the last days in the bunker or whatever that was talking about how Trump would be in a room full of people and have Sidney Powell on speakerphone and just say, Sidney, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? And then she would just go off on a fucking tear, and he would mute her on the call and start talking to people in the room, being like, Sydney's crazy. Can you believe this? She really believes this. She really believes this. Sydney's, is she wonderful, folks? Yeah. Okay. Then put her like back off mute. Yeah, Sydney. Okay. Yes. The Kraken. It's coming.
I was gonna say the photo of Lindell with the like martial law like alert plan was so funny to me because he was walking out. It was like kind of crumpled in his hands. People were like zooming in, being like, "Oh my God, is this the announcement that tanks are going to roll in during the inauguration?" And I found it, just looking at the photo, just as likely that he maybe asked Trump to like validate his parking, and he was just like, "Yeah, sure, let me grab something for you," and just like wrote it on the back of a memo.
The pages that he had, the pages he had crumpled up were like the Wikipedia entry for what is martial law with a few things highlighted. And he was like, "Here's the plan, sir."
Man, he must have sold a lot of pillows.
Oh yeah,
He does. And now the fucking thing is, it's expanded. There's sheets too now, and
I don't know about this one.
And he's got. Like, there are millions of morons who want to buy a My Pillow to stick it to the lizard people.
I trust this man to make pillows, but I don't know about other sorts of bedding items.
Look,
I definitely wouldn't buy a
The thing about Mike Lindell is the guy has sold a ton of pillows and he's smoked a ton of crack.
He did so much crack, and that's how he got up the idea of the pillow. One night he's like lying in bed, his eyes are like wide open, they're bright red throbbing veins in his eyes, and he goes, I could sleep if I had a better fucking pillow. If I had a perfect pillow, a perfect pillow. If I had a perfect pillow, I'd be able to sleep. A perfect pillow. And he spent the next 48 hours putting one together.
What makes it different?
It's memory foam of some kind. I don't know. It's probably made out of fucking fiberglass insulation.
Just asbestos.
He probably just like, yeah, it's like he probably like goes into schools that are going to be closed because they've got asbestos in the walls, and just rips it out and stuffs it in a fucking pillowcase, sells it to these rubes, because these people don't care if it's good or not. He's the good man. He's the good pillow man. They'll buy the fucking thing, even if it's just literally making their face orange.
I've never seen one in the wild, but for all I know, it's a sack with a raccoon in it that gently massages your head.
They would buy that.
I'm surprised more business types have not gotten into the whole Trump grift, not tried to leech off Trump to drift off his momentum, because like his audience will buy anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, they are, because they think they're fighting it. Apparently, what Trump's planning to do is he's planning to use the grassroots network of his Rube supporters to fund his presidential library, which is usually done with corporate donations, which is going to be a little harder for him now that he's anathema. So he's just going to get $2 billion in small donations to just build a giant fucking statue to himself that you can take an elevator into. And at the very top, in the brain, there's just a big screen TV that plays on a loop the commercial where him and Grimace look out the window.
Well, you bring up a giant Trump statue and Grimace, and I guess the last thing I want to talk about is the executive order on the way out the door. Like, this has been percolating for a while, but Trump's idea for a national sculpture garden that is like our gallery of national heroes, and he released the final list of names for people to be commemorated in statue form. I mean, I doubt this thing will ever get built, but like there's like, there's like 100 fucking names on it. It's like a massive list of fucking great Americans that are going to be featured in this statue garden.
I vaguely remember this. So his directive was to build a statue garden, what, in D.C.?
Yeah, it would be like something, I don't know if not on the National Mall, but...
This was originally proposed last summer after the whole George Floyd protest wave, and then the statue attacks where people were pulling down Confederate monuments and stuff, and he just decided, oh, you guys don't like statues? Well, actually, we're going to make more statues. How do you like that? The just pure ganglion reaction. You don't like statues? Build more statues. We're going to build so many statues, you're literally not going to be able to pull them down because there's going to be new ones. We're going to build them faster than you can pull them down. Good luck.
Eventually, every American will have a statue. It'll just be like
Every American will have a statue.
It'll be like the National Gallery of Americans, featuring 350 million bronze fucking busts.
We're going to unleash basilisks throughout the country.
And they will eventually, of course, be torn down by rampaging social justice warriors, which means that in the future, everyone will be a statue for 15 minutes.
You know, though, but I looked at the list of the national heroes that are going to be honored in statue form, and I got to say, I was a little disappointed because they were chalk picks. You know, there are a couple names of people that like I would like to deface in statue form, like William F. Buckley or Gene Kirkpatrick. But for the most part, these are like this is like, you know, Miles Davis, Cy Young, you know, like heroes of sport, film, politics, you know, like just the very standard great Americans, and even a couple that, you know, I wholeheartedly endorse, like Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, Herman Melville.
It's very serve for $1. Can you name an American?
Yeah, it's very like a Time Life, you know, list of, you know, of just nostalgia for old people.
But you know, I was disappointed because it was Trump that there were no like fictional characters or not Americans or just people he knows.
Here's my guess. Here's my guess on how the list came about. That like this took, you know, probably 12 hours out of his day. You know, when the White House says, you know, every single day when they don't release a schedule and they're like, Mr. Trump is doing president work from dawn to dusk today.
Calls.
Like, at least one of his days was just him sitting at his desk at the Oval Office, rattling off names for 12 hours straight while he has aides, you know, surrounding him with yellow notepads, and they just had to cross off the names of people who are foreign, who are fictional, who are not dead, who are just like stuff like the lady at the store, wife.
Just people he knows
and
from
like,
his golf club.
And it's just like, yeah, it's just like, well, just Mr. Trump, Mr. President, or just name people.
Stan
Shera. They just did
Shera needs a statue.
A lot of heavy editing on the list.
Yes, the nation needs a Stan Shera statue. In fact, fuck the rest of these. Make one giant Stan Shera statue.
Well, you know what? I mean, we were talking about it before we got on air here, but you know, I mean, like this is my solution to the National Garden of Heroes and the statue issue. There's one name of a living American who was not chosen to be in the Garden of Heroes, but I think towers among all of them. I would like to see all of these statues melted down, just smelted in a giant cauldron, and then reformed into a colossus. I would say, I don't know, 10 times the size of the Statue of Liberty. And I'd like it to be a Mr. Martin Scorsese. But,
yes,
as Matt, you pointed out, like the Emma Lazarus poem on the Statue of Liberty, you know, beside the golden door.
Give us your poor, your huddled masses.
The lamp is lit, you know, outside the golden door. There should be a plaque at the Scorsese Colossus that said, he was a cool guy who made only movies about cool guys who do cool, fun things and are good and not bad.
Yep. In fact, the statue should be of Martin Scorsese watching a crime happen and giving 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. But you know what, Matt, though? And then when you said that, I was like, yes, absolutely. This is that is a testament to, like, I think the greatest living American artist. But it's not just that he glorifies crime in his movies, because not all, you know, people forget not all of his movies are about the mob. What he really glorifies is toxic masculinity. And
that's true.
Is what we need a monument to. You know, because I feel like, you know, it's going away and people need to be reminded, you know, toxic masculinity, it's good. It's cool.
It built this freaking country, okay?
And it's not just limited to being in organized crime. You can do toxic masculinity if you're just an everyday average Joe. And, you know, that's the kind of the forgotten American, the forgotten toxic American that Martin Scorsese and his films completely uncritically celebrate.
Yep.
Actually,
that's why I am a toxic masculinity, because I watch those movies and thought, wow,
absolutely.
These are really well done films. They make me feel, you know, those emotions that cinema is able to evoke. And now I have these good, warm feelings towards these criminals. And now I think toxic criminal masculinity is actually awesome.
Will, do you have the list in front of you, the statue list?
I have the list in front of me.
Let me just bring it up. Okay, yeah.
Oh, I just want to say one thing about this list. If you really want to just sit down and entertain yourself for a few minutes, just start reading the names and imagining Trump describing why they're on the list. Just going like, Vince Lombardi, we love what he did for the football. He was the best football guy of all time. Herman Melville, he wrote a great book about a big fish. We love him.
Big guy.
Big fish.
The biggest fish. He wrote the novel about the biggest fish. No novelist since has been able to write about a bigger fish. That's why he's number one.
Herman Melville, he wrote the biggest book of all time, and no one's written a book that was longer. And that's why he's there. Or like Sojourner Truth, they'd be like, she told truth to everyone. No matter where she went, she was always telling the truth.
She took a big sojourn and took a lot of truth.
We could take the truth, and she said, "I'm sorry, I got to give it to you. I'm here for it."
Yes,
I feel like
funny.
the fact that there are I could be wrong though, but I did not see a single professional golfer on this statue list, and
That is kind of messed up.
That is evidence to me that Trump was not very involved in this.
No,
There's a whole
no
addendum
Jack
that's
Nicklaus?
just professional golfers.
Is Roy Cohn
yeah.
on the list?
Yeah,
Roy
I was wondering
Cohn?
if we'd get Roy Cohn on
Yeah,
there.
it's Roy Cohn on the list. I just want to ask questions. I just want to bring up names and see if they're on the list.
I did not see Roy Cohn on the list.
Yeah, sadly, no,
it-
because he doesn't have any loyalty. The whole ain't loyal.
Is the Big Bopper on the list?
Oddly, yes, but not Jim Allen's or Buddy Holly.
Many people. I was actually a bigger fan of the Big Bopper than Buddy Holly. I
like it.
Chantilly Lace.
Chantilly
That was
Lace.
the song. That was the
That
song.
was the one of all the songs. That was a good one.
It's the Big Bopper, baby. It's just Trump getting on the phone, calling people. Hello, it's the Big Bopper.
They were shaped very similarly, so I can see
They
why
were.
you might
They
like
really were.
just big briefcase guys. Speaking of that, I can't wait to see fucking Antonin Scalia's refrigerator-shaped statue that they put out there. Just an old
Anthony
square
Scalia is on
man.
there. Anthony
Yeah.
Scalia, but also Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah, and there you go.
He's doing the work to heal the nation on the way out.
They should make that one statue, and it's like Quado.
Oh yeah, we're like it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg is coming out of the side of Anthony Scalia.
Of Scalia, yeah, that would work.
Turn on the reactor, and
Those are just Ruth Bader Ginsburg on there. Those are just people he vaguely remembers from the news.
Yep. It's like Mr. Clean. Very good reading. William Devane for Gold Line.
Is Jerry Lewis on there?
he should be. I don't think he is though.
It's
No, I don't think it's
unfortunately not
very
searchable. The version that I have.
Well, it's alphabetical. It's alphabetical.
Yeah, I
the
saw
one
one that was
was
alphabetical.
alphabetical. The very annoying thing in Twitter for me is that the list is all on a Ben Jacobs thing, and that asshole blocks me, so I can never fucking see it when people
Me
are
too.
posting the goddamn thing.
Me
It's
too.
very annoying.
Okay,
Why,
here's what I want to.
How'd you get the Ben Jacobs block?
Is
I
Ty
just told him
Cobb?
he was a bitch, and it was funny that he got his ass kicked.
Oh, right. He
That'll
was the
do
guy
it.
who got his ass kicked. That was funny.
Is Ty Cobb on the statue list?
Hold. Let's see.
One of the greatest baseball players of all time, Ty Cobb.
Ingrid
I think-
Bergman, Charles Carroll, Johnny
Charlton Heston
Appleseed
is on the
Chapman.
list. Charlton Heston is on the list.
Hell yes.
I do not see
Is-
Ty Cobb.
Baby.
Is Samuel Adams on the list?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Is he holding a beer in the statue? I bet he is. I bet it's like a tie-in.
I hope
that's a
that-
name.
I hope the Heston statue is the rendering of him at the end of Planet of the Apes, like on his knees on the beach, going, "You maniacs! You blew it all to hell!"
Oh, that's a name that Trump threw out when asked to name founding fathers. I would love
Yes.
to hear Trump's explanation to who Samuel
He
Adams
made that's the beer. It's good. It's delicious. I don't drink it myself.
Jack,
You got
is Jack Daniels on there?
no,
Captain
but
Morgan, one of the greatest pirates of all time.
Helped us win the war.
He did it. He did it. He helped us with the war. We won.
I do love that the oldest person going back on this list is like basically founding fathers generation, like 1770s, except for Christopher Columbus, who has to be on here just to own people.
There's already a shitload of Christopher Columbus statues all over this country. I don't think we need
Gotta
to
include him in
Because-
here.
That's because, like with most Trump projects, this is going to be built by the mob, and you don't want to piss them off.
That's true.
So you've got to put fucking. Well, you got to Columbus. Why? He's a fucking hero.
Is Sam Giancana on the list?
I also, just looking through all these names, I can't help but just imagine these statues as the terracotta warriors that Trump will be buried with.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, these people will all like awake in the afterlife to be servants of Trump after thinking that they had lucked out and gone to hell. They'll find that they'll be rudely awakened.
When does this thing open? I want to go see it now.
It's never gonna fucking open. It's never gonna be a
going to
thing.
happen.
He signed the order.
Oh yeah,
He put in the order.
The work order, yeah.
Put in the requisition order for it.
Yeah.
It's in the
They
it's in the
put in
works.
the order. There's some like New Jersey-based like trophy supply company that's just like, oh boy, fucking sweating bullets. Like, we need to put an order with one of our vendors for 1,000 tons of bronze. Oh fuck. We've been filling orders for bowling leagues the last 6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
would be
like-
the perfect style for all of them. The bowling league trophies. You get to it,
Yeah.
and every single one of them is mid-rolling pose.
I think it's funny that there's been this freak out over the past 2 weeks about, what the damage that Trump's going to do in his last few days in office. He's going to declare martial law or launch nukes or whatever. And this is what actually comes out the door. The rambling statue list.
And also like none of the names like there's no one on there that's like really all that disgusting or controversial either.
I mean, there's war criminals and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
but, whatever. That's just PC.
That's almost exactly. They're like I thought they thought they would put Grant and Robert E. Lee on there, but only Grant
Or Chris
surprising.
Kyle or something.
Yeah, wearing his fucking Punisher Kevlar.
As a representation of quote great Americans, I mean, if you're just taking a survey of famous Americans, you're going to have some war criminals in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be part of that. They got Audie Murphy though; he's a war hero. No William Calley, so hey, it could have been worse.
Sergeant York, is he there? No,
I
probably
don't
not.
think they put Sergeant York on here.
Bo Grits.
Actually, yes, Sergeant York is,
he is on
the
there.
list. Elvin C. York, yes.
But Gary Cooper as Sergeant York, not the real Sergeant York.
Well, of course. I mean, you want
But
people
Gary
to be able to
Cooper
recognize
is
him.
on this.
Oh, Gary Cooper's already on it. Wow.
Oh no, wait, no, I'm sorry. I was misreading James Fenimore Cooper and another G name.
What the hell, dude? I think Trump thinks that is Gary Cooper.
That's his legal name.
James Fenimore Cooper, the guy from High Noon.
Well, I mean, I hope one day I can take my grandkids to see the 1,000 greatest Americans in statue form, or ideally to take them to see the Scorsese Colossus towering over the ruins of Manhattan.
Yes. Yep. Where
Like
it's got
Ozymandias.
yeah, and every hour his voice booms out across New York Sound. I think that crime is cool, and I glorify it.
No, yes, like sort of like a cathedral bell. He will remind you that doing evil and being toxically masculine is fun and cool. But every other hour of the day, he just updates you on the TCM schedule of what's on tonight. He's like the life and death of Colonel Blimp tonight, 8:00 TCM.
Howard Pressburg, that wonderful picture.
He's just rattling off like when you've got movies like Stagecoach, John Ford's Stagecoach. Well, that's what we
John
need.
Ford on the list.
All right. Well, before we go, we should take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate the birthday of one Chris Wade, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Wade, happy birthday, friend. Happy birthday to, I would say, easily the greatest producer / player in the podcast game today, by far.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And being unmuting myself and actually talking on this episode, that's a little gift that I'm giving to myself and also you, the listeners. But I'm going to end this with a brief annual shout out. I'm going to channel my best Stassi and say, it's my fucking birthday today.
My birthday, my actual birthday, my idea of what my birthday should be. For my f***ing birthday.
And because of that, you all have to go, if you have not already, to youtube.com/Chapo Trap House and subscribe to the damn YouTube channel. We are very close to getting
a plaque.
I want that fucking plaque.
What's the plaque? Give him the plaque.
We have great content there. We repost the episodes. We have Matt's vlogs. We're starting to do best of the month compilations.
The monthly best of comps are. I'm very very excited about those.
We're going to be doing that.
Was very fun.
and some other new, like possibly partially animated things. If you are an animator out there, by the way, if you do like animatics and would want to maybe do one for some of our best bits and maybe want a little money for it, hit me up in the DMs because I would love content like that. I'm also going to start playing around with doing like live streaming radio on there, making those 24-hour streams of lo-fi Chapo episodes to relax/study to. I think I'm going to make one with all our movie episodes that it just kind of plays on there, stuff like that, just playing around, having fun with it. I also just want to give a quick shout out to my beautiful team of YouTube helpers who have been helping me. That's Wagner Coop at Wags Coop on Twitter. Daniel, who did our best of compilation, he's at Bevel TGR. And a big shout out to Jake, who has been helping me do YouTube backend since basically the moment we started the channel. He is at Romcommie1 on Twitter. Please give him a shout out. He is going through chemo right now and could use some uplifting good messages from the Grey Wolves out there. All those guys have been helping me run the channel. We're going to hit 100,000 subs in 2021. That would be the best birthday gift possible for me. YouTube.com/Chapo Trap House.
How many subscriptions do we need to go before we hit 100K right now?
About 18,000.
Okay,
we're at 80.
After listening this episode, everyone out
18.
there, subscribe. We're hitting 100K tomorrow.
Yes.
It's free.
Yes.
I'm sure you can find 18,000 subs among the people who listen to this. I'm very confident.
I will also use this chance to make my yearly plug for the other podcasts I do with Borat Voice, my wife. It is called And Introducing, a podcast about words, about music. Every episode is about a different musician, usually told through their autobiography or memoir. We've had a lot of great episodes just in the past, like Guided by Voices with Dan Beckner. We did Billy Corgan with Leslie Lee from Struggle Session. We're getting ready to do Frank Zappa. And then for the bulk of the spring, we're going to go through and do every band from our band Could Be Your Life. So that'll be a fun run through 80s indie rock. So yeah, check that out. Will's been on it. Matt's been on it. Felix has been on it. Those episodes are all great. You can check those out. And Introducing anywhere you get podcasts. If you've not heard of it before, you're hearing about it now.
Well, there we go. Thanks once again. Another great episode, but especially happy birthday to Chris Wade, the LeBron James of podcast producers. And, perfect pairing with me, the James Harden of podcast hosts. I'm fat, folks. I've been getting a lot of weight in quarantine. And I'm in Brooklyn now. All right, gang. All right, gang. Till next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.